Okay, close your eyes for just a second. If you can, I want you to picture the far northwest of America. You've got towering, snowy mountains scraping the sky, endless, impenetrable dark forests, and nestled right in the middle of all of it, shining royal castles. Well, welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving into the massive, mysterious kingdom of Brighton State. It's ruled by the widely beloved King Darin and Queen Elizabeth, who are pretty much respected across the entire land. Now, on the surface, it's an absolute paradise. But as we're going to see today, every paradise casts a really long, dark shadow. And it brings up this chilling question about human nature. What exactly happens when the intoxicating danger of forbidden knowledge turns into a total obsession?
There are places a person can return from, but they never come back the same. Man, just listen to the weight of those words. This chilling warning wasn't spoken by some superstitious villager. No, this was Queen Elizabeth herself, delivering it softly, almost like a whisper, to her only son. When the most powerful woman in the entire kingdom speaks with that kind of quiet, trembling fear, you know the threat is absolutely real. It instantly hooks you right into the deep, unsettling dread that's woven into the very fabric of this story.
And honestly, the Queen had every reason to be terrified, because by day, Brighton State is a picture-perfect kingdom. It's majestic, it's safe, it's shining, but the exact moment the sun dips below those snowy mountains, the atmosphere completely fractures. Brighton State by night is a kingdom paralyzed by fear. The citizens, they don't just go to sleep. They literally rush to lock their doors early. They hide, because something utterly terrifying takes over the darkness.
Deep in the northern region lies a place called Shadowpine Forest, and for centuries, this strict, terrifying legend has governed the land. It's simple: never enter Shadowpine Forest alone after midnight. The rule is absolute, no exceptions. The legend insists that anyone who dares to cross that tree line alone in the dead of night is going to be forever changed by whatever is lurking inside.
So, this brings us to the heir to the throne, Prince Jackson. Right from childhood, Jackson was undeniably different. While all the other princes were out training in sword fighting, learning politics, or, studying war strategy, Jackson completely ignored all of it. And his obsession escalated fast. It started with him spending hours reading these ancient, forbidden books hidden deep inside the royal library. Then, servants started spotting him wandering through the castle's sealed underground chambers late at night. And that eventually morphed into him sneaking out of the palace completely alone after midnight, riding this horse straight toward the dark forests. He was actively interrogating elderly villagers about forgotten macabre stories, collecting ancient maps and studying these deeply unsettling symbols. The palace guards were frequently catching him riding out into the pitch-black darkness. King Darin, naturally, was deeply worried about his son's disturbing behavior. But whenever the king questioned him, Jackson wouldn't apologize. Actually, he wouldn't even argue. He would just give this faint, kind of unsettling smile and say, "Some secrets only reveal themselves in the dark, Father." Just wow. That sentence alone carries so much unbearable tension. It left the king entirely powerless against his son's dark curiosity. All right, so this brings us to the fateful night that literally changed everything. The atmosphere was incredibly oppressive. Dark storm clouds had entirely suffocated the sky, and violent winds were just rattling the heavy palace windows. You could hear distant, echoing wolf howls piercing through the freezing night air. The oldest palace servant had actually begged the queen, warning her that Jackson was walking a path no human should ever follow. But Jackson? He ignored every single omen. Right at the stroke of midnight, right in the middle of this terrifying storm, he gathered his most trusted soldiers and declared they were riding directly into Shadowpine Forest. Now, as you can probably imagine, the soldiers were completely terrified. They're standing there in the freezing courtyard, nervously whispering about the terrible, monstrous things rumored to live in that forest. One brave soldier even dared to speak up to the prince. But Jackson just stared back, absolute ice in his veins. He coldly dismissed their fears, simply stating, "Stories are made to scare weak minds." And with that, he thundered away on horseback right into the raging storm, forcing his men to follow him. The second the expedition crosses into the forest, the environment radically shifts. The air becomes impossibly freezing, and these ancient trees are so overwhelmingly thick that not even a single sliver of moonlight can reach the ground. It is just a suffocating pitch-black darkness. And right in the middle of that heavy, dead silence of the forest,
one frozen, trembling soldier stops. He looks around and asks a question that just sends shivers right down your spine. Did you hear that? Instantly, everyone falls dead silent. And there it was. Faint, sourceless whispers, just echoing from somewhere deep between the massive tree trunks. Whispers out in the absolute middle of nowhere, with literally no one there to be making the sound. The men are paralyzed with dread. But Jackson simply steps off his horse. He grabs a torch, and if you look at his face, there isn't a single drop of fear. There's only pure, unadulterated excitement. And then it escalates, fast. Out of nowhere, this massive hawk appears in the pitch-black sky directly above them. But this is no normal bird. We're talking unnaturally large wings, glowing, burning red eyes that lock directly onto the soldiers. And in its massive claws, it's carrying something completely impossible. It's a strange black stone, and inside that stone, a golden light is flickering and burning like trapped fire. Jackson was utterly captivated. He literally couldn't take his eyes off that glowing light.
Desperate to claim whatever this creature is holding, Jackson breaks the silence. "Shoot it down," he shouts. One of his soldiers immediately draws a bow and fires a perfect dead center shot right toward the hawk's chest. But the instant, I mean the exact microsecond, the iron-tipped arrow touches the creature, it vaporizes. It just instantly turns into falling ashes. The weapon is entirely useless. And the hawk? It doesn't even flinch. It just remains perfectly still in the air, and then slowly, methodically, turns those almost human-looking eyes back toward Jackson.
And then, complete and utter chaos erupts. The hawk opens its beak and lets out this horrifying, piercing scream that physically shakes the entire forest. The horses panic violently, rearing up, kicking out in sheer terror. The soldiers are stumbling backward, dropping their weapons, completely overwhelmed by this deafening sound. And yet, right in the middle of this total sensory nightmare, Prince Jackson is standing perfectly, unnaturally still. The massive bird finally breaks eye contact and flies deeper into the unseen darkness of the forest. Jackson's breathing starts growing incredibly heavy. One of the soldiers begs him, warning him that this whole thing feels entirely wrong. But Jackson doesn't even look at him. With this cold, unwavering authority, he simply issues a two-word command: follow it. And the terrified soldiers, bound by their royal duty, realize they have absolutely no choice. They have to pursue this impossible nightmare deeper into the woods. So they go deeper. And the further they travel, the more hostile the environment becomes. I mean, the thick trees at the forest edge were bad enough, but here in the deep woods, the environment actively starts working against them. Their physical torches, burning with actual fire, begin inexplicably dimming. It's almost as if the darkness itself is literally suffocating the oxygen. And just beyond the fading light of those torches, strange, silent shadows begin moving between the trees. The tension here is absolutely unbearable. After what feels like several agonizing minutes of traveling through this creeping darkness, the trees suddenly just end. They step out into a massive, unnatural open clearing. And right there, perfectly centered on the ground, in the middle of nowhere, lies something dark, just waiting for them. So they get closer, right? And what they initially thought was just an ordinary black stone reveals its true, horrifying form. Now, a normal human heart is about the size of a fist, it's red, and obviously lifeless outside a body. But this Shadowpine heart, it is roughly the size of a grown person's head, it's pitch black, covered in thick golden veins that are glowing brighter by the second. And worst of all, it's having a physical effect on the world around it. It's actually causing the very ground beneath their boots to softly, rhythmically tremble. Thump. The massive, supernatural organ actually pulses. The heavy, wet sound of a heartbeat fills the silent clearing. One of the soldiers, completely stripped of whatever courage he had left, steps backward, staring at the massive black organ, and simply whispers into the dark, "Oh my God." Thump. The golden veins flare up, burning even brighter. Another soldier, his voice shaking uncontrollably now, declares out loud that the thing right in front of them is pure evil. But when you look over at Jackson, there is zero fear, not even a trace. His eyes are wide, practically overflowing with this dark, fearless curiosity. It's as if in this horrifying monstrosity, he has finally found the exact secret he's been searching for his entire life. Thump! On the third massive beat that shakes the dirt, Jackson suddenly freezes. because he hears something that none of the soldiers hear, a voice, whispering his own name directly inside his mind. Jackson? He whips his head around, looking frantically behind him, but there is absolutely no one there. The soldiers are completely silent.
And then it comes again, echoing through his skull with this impossible, seductive command. Touch me. The golden veins on the massive black heart begin glowing with this blinding intensity, and the soldiers are now actively pleading, begging the prince, "My prince, we need to leave." They know that just standing near this thing is a death sentence.
But Jackson, he's not even listening to them anymore. He slowly begins walking directly toward the beating mass. And with every single step he takes, the supernatural chaos around them violently escalates. The air itself grows physically heavy. The massive ancient trees surrounding the clearing begin shaking violently, like they're caught in some localized hurricane. And way far above them, silhouetted against the storm clouds, the giant hawk returns, circling the sky. Jackson stands directly in front of the Black Heart. Its pulse now sounds almost completely, terrifyingly human.
Moving slowly, almost like he's in a total trance, Prince Jackson reaches his bare hand out toward the glowing black flesh of the heart. A soldier right behind him screams out, "No!" But it's way too late. His fingers make contact. And the precise moment Jackson's skin touches the Shadowpine heart, an ancient, unimaginable nightmare is awakened. It just goes to show what happens when human obsession pushes us into the dark spaces we were never, ever meant to explore. So what exactly happens to Jackson? And what on earth is unleashed upon the supposedly perfect kingdom of Brighton State? Well, you'll have to find out next time. Make sure to subscribe for part 2 to see the terrors born from the dark. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you in the shadows.